What if the one thing everyone calls a weakness is actually your greatest superpower? This isn't a story about changing who you are. It's the story of how embracing a delusional vision can transform you from someone the world ignores into someone it can't forget. You. Yes, you. The one who feels like life is a locked door and you've misplaced the key. The one who wakes up some mornings with an invisible weight on your chest, wondering if the person you are is truly enough to become the person you dream of being. Your dreams feel way too big for the small town you grew up in. Your hopes sound naive to the people who claim to know you best. They say, be realistic. They say, that's impossible. They use a word like delusional as a cage to keep you small, to keep you safe, to keep you just like them. But what if they're all wrong? What if the key isn't lost, but has been inside you all along? What if the only way out of the box they put you in is to believe in something so fiercely, so completely, that no one else needs to see it for it to be real? This isn't about wishful thinking. This is about a force of nature hidden in the human spirit. It's the story of how the most iconic, game-changing, and unforgettable figures in modern history were all diagnosed with the same condition before they ever found success. They were called delusional. And it was this so-called flaw that became the very engine for their ascent. They understood a secret that we've forgotten. You do not need the world's permission to build your own reality. You just need to believe in the blueprint, even when you're the only one who can see it. Section 1. The Prison of Realistic Thinking. Let's talk about the world's most powerful sedative. It's not a pill. It's a single word: realistic. From the moment we can dream, we're taught to shrink those dreams to fit the container of our current circumstances. We're told to look at our resources, our background, our grades, our job title, and draw a neat little circle around it. That circle, they tell us, is our potential. Stay inside it. Don't push the boundaries. Be realistic. This well-meaning advice is a trap. It's a life sentence of mediocrity, handed down by people who accepted their own sentence long ago. It's the voice of fear disguised as wisdom. It's the logic that says, well, I couldn't do it, so you can't either. Think of the old story of an elephant in a circus. When it's a baby, it's tied to a small stake in the ground with a thick rope. The baby elephant pulls and pulls, but it isn't strong enough to break free. It tries for days, maybe weeks, until it learns a powerful and devastating lesson. The rope is stronger than I am. Years later, the elephant is a magnificent, multi-ton behemoth. It could rip that stake from the ground with a casual flick of its leg. But it doesn't even try. It's still tied to the same small stake, often with nothing more than a flimsy rope. Why? Because its mind is still a prisoner to a belief it formed when it was small and weak. The limitation is no longer external, it's internal. The belief became its reality. This is what being realistic does to us. It tethers our magnificent adult potential to the stakes of our past failures. We walk in circles, believing the flimsy rope of public opinion is an unbreakable chain. We feel stuck, underestimated, and we watch others live out grand adventures and wonder, why not me? The answer is simple yet profound. They didn't have a different rope. They just decided to pull harder. They decided to question the very stake in the ground. They decided that the belief holding them captive was a lie. This is the first, crucial step out of the prison of realism, the willingness to be called delusional. Section 2. The reframing of delusion. The word delusion is heavy. It carries the weight of a clinical diagnosis, of being detached from reality. Let's be clear. We're not talking about a medical condition. We're talking about a rebellion. We are talking about the intentional, defiant act of choosing a reality that hasn't manifested yet. It's the conscious decision to live in the world you are building, not just the one you are currently standing in. This kind of delusion isn't blindness. It's a lens. It's a filter you place over your perception of the world that doesn't deny obstacles, but magnifies possibilities. It tunes your mind to see doors where others only see solid walls. Psychologists have a few names for this, like the self-fulfilling prophecy or the Pygmalion effect. At its core, it's a simple, fundamental law of the human psyche. Your beliefs dictate your actions, and your actions create your results. When you hold an unwavering, borderline delusional belief in a future outcome, you aren't just daydreaming, you're programming your mind. You're giving your subconscious a direct order. This is the destination. Ignore the noise, find a way. This isn't a passive act of wishing, it is an active state of being. It's the courage to say, I am a successful writer, long before your first book is published. It's the audacity to say, I am a champion, when you're still training in a rundown gym. It's the nerve to say, I am a genius, when the world is telling you you're a fool. This isn't lying to yourself, it's aligning yourself with a future truth. It's a declaration of intent so powerful, it begins to bend your present reality to its will. You start talking differently. You start walking differently. You start making decisions based not on who you are today, but on who you are becoming. The world might call this delusional, but the people who have changed the world call it faith. Section 3. Architects of their own reality. History rarely builds monuments for the realists. It lionizes the delusional, the men and women who held on to a vision with such ferocious tenacity that reality had no choice but to catch up. Consider a young, brash Irishman in the early 2010s. He was a plumber's apprentice, collecting social welfare checks of €188 a week just to get by. To the outside world, he was just another kid with an impossible dream. But in his own mind, he wasn't a plumber. He was already a world champion. He spoke not of if he would become a champion, but when. He visualized the feel of the belt, the roar of the crowd, the weight of the gold. That man was Conor McGregor. His success, he would say, wasn't arrogance, but belief. He was plotting his ascent daily, using an unshakable, delusional self-belief as his compass. This pattern repeats itself. Think of a young comedian from a poor family in Canada. His early stand-up attempts were a disaster, and his family struggled so much they sometimes lived out of a van. Yet in 1985, when he was completely broke, he did something audacious. He wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, post-dated it 10 years in the future, and stuck it in his wallet. It was a tangible piece of his delusion. He'd look at it every day, not as a wish, but as a promise. 10 years later, almost to the day, that man, Jim Carrey, was paid $10 million for his role in Dumb and Dumber. It wasn't magic. It was the physical embodiment of a goal that programmed his every action for a decade. Then there's the musician and designer who, from the very beginning, declared himself a genius. He said it in interviews when many had never heard of his music. He famously said, "I'm a creative genius, and there's no other way to word it." The world called him arrogant, narcissistic, out of touch, delusional. But Kanye West was building his own reality, with his words as the bricks and mortar. He believed his own hype so intensely that it became a gravitational force, pulling in the opportunities that would eventually make the world concede. He was, in fact, a creative genius. He understood you have to be your own biggest fan before you can convince anyone else. Perhaps the most potent example comes from tech, a man whose name is now synonymous with innovation: Steve Jobs. His colleagues at Apple had a name for his unique brand of intense belief. They called it the reality distortion field. It was his ability to convince himself and others to believe in almost anything. As the legend goes, during the development of the Macintosh, he demanded his engineers shave 28 seconds off the boot-up time. They insisted it was impossible. Jobs asked, "If a person's life depended on it, could you find a way to shave 10 seconds off?" The engineer admitted he probably could. Jobs then showed on a whiteboard that if 5 million people wasted an extra 10 seconds a day, it would add up to 100 human lifetimes wasted per year. Suddenly, it wasn't a technical problem, it was a moral imperative. A few weeks later, the boot time was reduced. That was the reality distortion field. It wasn't about ignoring reality, it was about convincing people that reality was malleable. And the most dramatic story might be Elon Musk in 2008. After making his fortune from PayPal, he poured everything into two seemingly impossible ventures: an electric car company, Tesla, and a private rocket company, SpaceX. In 2008, the world was in a financial crisis. Tesla was bleeding money, and SpaceX had suffered 3 consecutive failed rocket launches. Musk was on the verge of personal bankruptcy. He had a stark choice: split his remaining cash and let both companies die, or save one. He chose the delusional path. He bet everything on both. For a moment, it looked like a catastrophic failure. But then, on its 4th and final attempt, the Falcon 1 rocket successfully reached orbit. Days later, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract, and on Christmas Eve, Tesla closed the financing round it needed to survive. His unwavering belief didn't just save his companies, it fundamentally altered the course of 2 global industries. These aren't just feel-good stories, they are blueprints. They show us that the human mind, when fully convinced of a reality, will work tirelessly to close the gap between what's imagined and what's real. Section 4. The science of making it real. So how does this actually work? Is it really just about believing? Yes, but belief is not a passive state. It's a powerful psychological process that actively rewires your brain and directs your actions. 3 concepts really break it down. First, the self-fulfilling prophecy. This is a concept from sociology that shows how a belief, whether it's true or false, can influence our behavior in a way that makes that exact belief come true. If you genuinely believe you're destined for great things, you start acting like it. You take the extra meeting. You make the cold call. You aren't afraid to take risks because, in your mind, success is inevitable. Conversely, if you believe you'll fail, you unconsciously sabotage yourself. You procrastinate, you avoid challenges, and you see minor setbacks as proof you were right all along. Your behavior aligns with your deepest beliefs, creating the very outcome you predicted. Second, and maybe the most powerful, is the role of your reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS is a bundle of nerves at your brainstem that acts as your brain's bouncer. Your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of information every second. It can't possibly process it all. The RAS is the gatekeeper that decides what gets your attention. Ever decide you want a specific car, and then suddenly you see that car everywhere? The number of those cars didn't magically increase. Your RAS, now programmed with your intention, just started flagging it as important. When you cultivate a delusional belief, you are giving your RAS a new primary command. It starts filtering your world for opportunities, conversations, and resources related to that goal that you would have otherwise missed. Finally, there's the power of your self-image. This psychological concept is simple. You can't act in a way that is inconsistent with how you see yourself. Your self-image sets the boundaries for your behavior. If you see yourself as shy, you'll act shy. But if you begin to cultivate an internal image of yourself as confident and capable, even if it feels delusional at first, your behaviors will start to rise to meet that new identity. You'll stand up straighter. You'll make eye contact. You'll speak with more authority. You're not faking it. You're practicing your future self. Over time, through small, consistent actions, the delusional identity becomes your real identity. The belief through action becomes the truth. Section 5. Forging your own delusion. A practical guide. Understanding the concept is one thing, using it is another. So how do you actually start building this engine in your own life? It's not a switch you flip, it's a muscle you build. Here are 4 practical steps. First, define your delusion with absolute clarity. A vague wish isn't a vision. I want to be successful is not a target. You need to define your future reality with sensory detail. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Who are you with? Write it down, not as a goal, but as a memory of the future. The more vivid the vision, the clearer the instruction you give your RAS. Jim Carrey didn't just wish for money. He wrote a check for a specific amount, $10 million. That's the kind of clarity you're after. Second, act as if. This is the core of transforming your self-image. Start making decisions based on the person you are becoming, not the person you have been. Ask yourself, How would the champion version of me handle this? How would the best-selling author version of me structure their day? You begin to borrow confidence from your future self. This isn't about being inauthentic. It's about aligning your present actions with your future truth. You're stepping into the role before you've been cast. Third, curate your evidence and ignore the noise. Your brain is a belief engine, and it runs on evidence. Right now, it might be running on evidence of past failures. Your job is to start feeding it new evidence. Start small. Set a tiny goal that aligns with your grand vision. When you achieve it, celebrate it. Document it. It's a small win, a piece of proof. Collect these proofs like a detective building a case.
At the same time, you have to learn to ruthlessly ignore the noise from skeptics and your own inner critic. Their reality is not your destination. Their beliefs are based on their map, not yours. Protect your delusion like a fragile flame in a storm. Fourth, immersion and repetition. You have to immerse yourself in your vision. This is why athletes use visualization. It's about constant, repeated exposure to your desired reality. Listen to the music that makes you feel like your future self. Read the books that person would read. Spend time with people who lift you up, not those who tether you to your past. Jim Carrey looked at his check every day. This repetition is what rewrites old neural pathways and solidifies new ones. It makes the delusional feel familiar, and the familiar feel inevitable. Section 6. The fine line belief versus fantasy. It's important to address the nuance here. There is a fine line between transformative, delusional self-belief and a passive, harmful fantasy. The difference is one word: work. Delusional self-belief is not an excuse to sit on the couch and wait for the universe to deliver your dreams. That is fantasy. Delusional belief is the fuel, not the car. It is the psychological force that gets you up at 5 a.m. to work on your manuscript. It is the mental resilience that allows you to hear no 100 times and still have the energy to go for the 101st. It is the unwavering conviction that makes the grueling, often unglamorous work feel meaningful. The belief without the work is empty. The work without the belief is unsustainable. The true power lies in the fusion of the two. A vision so compelling, it makes the hardest work feel like a privilege, and work so consistent, it turns the most audacious vision into reality. This isn't about denying reality. You still have to pay your bills, you still have to deal with setbacks, but you do it from a different perspective. A setback isn't a dead end, it's a detour. A failure isn't a final verdict, it's a lesson. The delusion is the North Star that keeps you moving in the right direction, even when you're navigating a swamp. Call to action. We've talked about the power of these ideas, but real change often comes from community. It comes from knowing you're not alone in your delusional dreams. So, I have a question for you. What is your delusional dream? What is the vision you hold for yourself that you might be afraid to say out loud? Share it in the comments below. Let's make this a space where big, audacious, world-changing ideas are not just accepted, but celebrated. Declare your future. By writing it down, you make it a little more real, and by sharing it, you might just inspire someone else to embrace their own delusion. And if this message resonated with you and you want to keep challenging your own limits, make sure you subscribe. We're just getting started. Conclusion. The world is built by the unreasonable. It's shaped by those who dare to see things not as they are, but as they could be. The realists work for the delusionists. The pragmatists execute the visions of the idealists. Reality is not as solid as it appears. It's a consensus, a collective agreement. And you have the power to opt out of that consensus and start building your own. Your life is your story to write, and you don't need to let anyone else hold the pen. The most powerful tool you have is not your talent, your resources, or your connections. It is your belief. It is your ability to hold a vision in your mind so clearly and so persistently that it becomes a magnet, pulling you and the world towards it. And if they ever call you delusional, know that you are in the company of giants. It just means you're on the edge of creating something no one else can see.